Okay, ladies and gents, I sent you these two things on Edmodo. We'll be using them in a little bit, so you can put them in Goodreader. First, I want to go back to the slideshow to explain some of the stuff with body paragraphs. Breaking it down pretty simply, you should be able to get a couple of your body paragraphs written by the time you leave today. So today we're going to work on developing body paragraphs around the quotes you've chosen. I know you've already worked on choosing quotes. When we read our Combine, or when you guys wrote your Combine essays a couple weeks ago, when you're in-class essays, we gave you exit tickets, and many of you said that was something you needed some help with, is developing body paragraphs and making them kind of rich. So we're going to work on that. There are parts to the body paragraph that every body paragraph should kind of have. And you already have one of those parts, which is the quote. In this case, it's going to be a quote because we're writing about a book. In the case of your guerrilla project for Mr. Paquette, it may not be a quote, it might be a paraphrase or something, but it's something from a source, it's some piece of evidence. That's kind of where you start. This is the, referring back to my sample essay that you guys read about McMurphy, the chief's father, and this will be the first body paragraph, so here's the first quote I used. Then you add in the integration. What does integration mean? You can tell me that.
Immigration.
No, integration.
Immigration.
When you put something together, I want to say when you integrate them.
It is when you integrate, yes. When you put things together. Okay? So, most of you guys can find decent quotes. Many of you, though, when you write an essay, will just stick your quote as is in the paragraph. Really, what you should be doing is adding a quote to your own sentence. In this case, with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, it's pretty easy to do because it's in the first person and the chief tells us everything. So my quote integration is really simple. It's just, he says that, he talks a little the way Papa used to, a voice loud and full of hell. So now, instead of a quote by itself, I have a quote as part of my own sentence. That's simple stuff. Okay. Next is the topic sentence. And I know this is hard to read because of the way the slide is, but you'll get to see the whole thing in a minute. Can anybody tell me what the topic sentence of a paragraph is? Say that one more time, Sam. It tells you what the paragraph's about. If you had to pick one sentence, if I said take all of your paragraphs, pick the most important sentence out of each one, it'd be the topic sentence. It kind of like sums up what the paragraph's about. It's the main point. It's like the thesis for your essay. Topic sentence is when McMurphy first appears in the novel, the chief immediately notices the similarity to his father. Boom.
Boom.
Boom. Just like that.
No.
Then the supporting details come in. Now, when you use a quote from a book, you need to set the context for that quote. You can't just kind of throw it in there. You don't need a lot of context for us because we all kind of know the book. But if you're writing about your outside reading book, for instance, you might need to tell some things. So in this case, what's happening in the book when this quote happens? So right here, when this quote happens, it's when McMurphy arrives on the ward, shocking patients and staff alike with his boisterous behavior. It's when he first shows up and everybody's like, wow, what's that guy doing? After you use the quote, you explain the quote. It's not good just to have the evidence on its own. I mean, the quote's your evidence, but you can't just leave it there. You need to show, how does my quote back up my thesis or my topic sentence? Usually it's with your thesis. So here's what this quote means. You know, this stocky red-headed guy has no real physical resemblance to the chief's tall, lean Native American father, but the chief sees a resemblance of spirit, a similarity in the way they carry themselves and the way they defy authority. Okay? So I've got a topic sentence. I tell what's happened in the book, where my evidence is, and then I explain that evidence. And then here's the whole first paragraph. Okay? And all broken down into the parts. Now in here I have basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts. We're going to learn about the 7 parts of the body paragraph in a second, and the only 2 I didn't really label on here are the transitions. What's a transition?
Then, next.
Those are some transition words. What's a transition in general? What's it for?
So it's not a run-on sentence.
Nope, not quite. It's more about, what'd you say, actually? yeah, keeping it flowing from one point to the next. So can anybody tell me what the transition words are in my topic sentence? Because you need to have a transition in the beginning of your paragraph. What's that? When is part of it. I would say it's like when McMurphy first appears. So we know that, here's the beginning of it. Right? You can't really see my transition here until you see the next paragraph. My next paragraph starts with something like, as the book goes on, McMurphy defies the nurse more and more. So use a common term here. I say McMurphy defies authority, and then the next paragraph he defies the nurse. So by using some common language between one paragraph and the next, you can link your parts together. So there's my first whole body paragraph. Then you just do the same thing for the rest of them. It's pretty straightforward. Next to the body paragraph, right? A transition, a topic sentence, supporting details, integrate the quote, give your quote, explain the quote, start the next thing. One thing I want you guys to realize is, I didn't tell you how many sentences. How many of you have had teachers, when you were younger, say, oh, you must have at least 5 sentences in your paragraph, or 3 sentences, or 7 sentences? It's pretty common, right? I've had a lot of people tell me that. Why do you think your teachers tell you that when you are younger? Good, they want you to expand on your ideas. Now, as you get older, you should start to realize that the number of sentences doesn't really dictate the length or depth of your paragraph, right? Many times, your transition will be part of your topic sentence. It doesn't have to be, but it might be. Okay? You could have several sentences for your supporting details. These two things are always together, but your quote might be more than one sentence, but those are all kind of together. This could be several sentences or just one, and this transition, setting up the next paragraph, might be part of that. So as long as those parts are in there, it doesn't matter if they're separate sentences or not. Just kind of keep that in mind.